When you're an introvert, the world can often feel too loud, too fast, and too overwhelming. In relationships, this reality becomes even more important to consider. Emotional safety isn't just a preference, it's a need. It's the foundation that allows an introvert to open up, feel seen, and truly thrive. Unlike extroverts who may recharge in groups or through external stimulation, introverts need quietness, trust, and inner peace to feel whole. That's why, when you're choosing a partner, it's not enough to go for chemistry alone. You must ask, does this person make me feel safe emotionally? Emotional safety means having the freedom to be your authentic self without fear of judgment, mockery, or being misunderstood. Introverts are naturally inward, focused, reflective, and emotionally aware. When they open up to someone, it's not a casual gesture. It's a deeply personal act. They don't share pieces of themselves with just anyone. So, when they're met with a partner who ridicules their silence, forces unnecessary conflict, or pushes them to be more outgoing, it doesn't just hurt, it erodes trust. What they need instead is someone who listens, who pays attention to the unspoken things, who understands that their quietness is not emptiness but depth. A partner who provides emotional safety doesn't try to fix the introvert or change their rhythm. They know how to sit in silence with them without making it awkward. They understand that comfort doesn't always need to be loud, and love doesn't always need to be constantly expressed through words. This partner gives room for the introvert to speak when ready, to feel when safe, and to withdraw when necessary, without making them feel guilty or broken for doing so. Introverts in emotionally safe relationships feel like they can exhale. They don't feel pressured to perform or be someone they're not. Their social batteries don't drain just from being around their partner. Instead, their partner becomes a soft place to land after a long day, a shelter from the world's noise. And that's when an introvert shines. In the warmth of emotional safety, their natural loyalty, depth, and thoughtfulness come alive. They become even more loving, more engaged, and more open, not because they were forced to, but because they were given space to feel safe. Unfortunately, many introverts end up in relationships where their sensitivity is dismissed or labeled as too much. They're told they're overthinking, or being dramatic, or boring, for not wanting to socialize all the time. This only causes them to shrink further into themselves, building walls instead of bridges. Over time, the relationship begins to feel like another place where they have to wear a mask, and that's the very thing they've been trying to avoid their whole lives. So if you're an introvert, one of the best gifts you can give yourself is choosing a partner who values emotional safety as much as you do. Someone who respects your calm nature, who's not constantly poking at your boundaries, and who knows that real connection is about more than constant interaction. It's about mutual understanding, quiet support, and deep trust. Emotional safety doesn't mean you'll never argue or have tension. It means that even in those moments, your partner will not weaponize your nature against you. They won't throw your need for space in your face or use your silence as ammunition. Instead, they'll ask, "Are you okay?" rather than, "What's wrong with you?" Because for introverts, being understood is a form of intimacy, and a partner who can give them that is worth everything. For an introvert, personal space is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's the air they breathe, the silence that recharges their mind, and the solitude that reconnects them to themselves. In relationships, this need is often misunderstood. Many partners, especially extroverts or those unfamiliar with introverted tendencies, might take this desire for space personally. They assume that needing time alone means disinterest, distance, or emotional coldness. But for an introvert, space is not about pushing someone away, it's about preserving the self. It's how they process emotions, restore their energy, and stay grounded in the relationship. A healthy relationship for an introvert honors this truth. The right partner will not only understand their need for space, but will actively protect it. They won't take it as a rejection if the introvert needs a quiet evening to themselves after a busy week. They won't demand constant interaction or interpret silence as a lack of love. Instead, they'll see the bigger picture, that when an introvert has time to recharge, they return to the relationship more present, more loving, and more emotionally available. One of the biggest mistakes people make with introverts is confusing quietness with emotional distance. They assume that if someone isn't constantly talking, texting, or initiating plans, they must not care. But introverts often show love in subtle, quiet ways. A gentle touch, a thoughtful gesture, a shared silence. These are meaningful expressions to them. When they're given the freedom to retreat and reflect, they're actually building the strength to show up fully when it matters most. It's also important to understand that introverts can feel overstimulated by too much interaction, even with someone they love. This doesn't mean they don't enjoy their partner's company. It just means that their energy drains faster in social situations or during prolonged conversation. In these moments, space is not about separation, it's about recovery. A partner who understands this will offer space without guilt, tripping, without questioning their love, and without making the introvert feel like something is wrong with them. On the flip side, when introverts are with someone who doesn't respect their need for space, the relationship becomes emotionally suffocating. They start to feel drained, not just by the world, but by the person who's supposed to be their safe space. They might withdraw, shut down emotionally, or even start to feel resentful. Not because they don't care, but because they've been denied the one thing that allows them to function fully in love. This is why setting boundaries around alone time is so essential. It's not selfish, it's responsible. It protects the emotional health of both partners. In a respectful relationship, these boundaries are not viewed as walls, but as acts of love, ways to ensure that each person can bring their best selves into the partnership. It becomes a rhythm, a balance, where solitude and togetherness coexist without conflict. When an introvert is in a relationship where their need for space is acknowledged and respected, they feel deeply loved. They feel safe to be who they are, they stop questioning themselves and start trusting their instincts, and most importantly, they stop hiding. They bring their full presence into the relationship, not because they were pressured, but because they were given the space to breathe. That space, that silence, that moment alone. It's not a gap in love. It's a bridge back to it, and any partner who truly wants to love an introvert must understand that space doesn't create distance. It creates depth. For introverts, connection doesn't come from constant chatter or being the loudest voice in the room. It comes from depth. Surface-level conversations, small talk about the weather, or meaningless social noise don't energize them. In fact, they often feel drained by it. What truly lights them up is a conversation that goes beyond the surface, that explores thoughts, emotions, dreams, and even fears. That's why, when it comes to relationships, introverts should seek a partner who values deep conversations over small talks, someone who is not just present in the room, but truly present in the moment. When an introvert meets someone who can sit with them and explore meaningful topics, like purpose, values, emotions, or past experiences, a unique connection begins to form. It's not forced, it's not rushed. It's built slowly, through intention and sincerity. These types of conversations allow introverts to open up in ways they typically don't, because for them, speaking about what truly matters is sacred. It's not about talking to be heard, it's about sharing to be understood. Many introverts are naturally introspective. They think deeply about their experiences, notice subtle details, and feel things intensely. When their partner is dismissive or uninterested in deeper dialogue, it creates a barrier. They begin to feel emotionally disconnected, even if they're spending a lot of time together. Without meaningful conversation, the relationship starts to feel empty, like it's full of words but lacking in understanding. And for an introvert, emotional understanding is the heart of intimacy. A partner who values deep conversation doesn't always have to be a philosopher or an intellectual. What matters is curiosity and emotional openness. It's the ability to ask thoughtful questions and actually listen to the answers. It's the willingness to sit in silence sometimes, allowing the conversation to unfold naturally, instead of forcing a superficial exchange. It's about being okay with not having all the answers, but still choosing to explore the questions together. Introverts also appreciate emotional depth in conversations. They notice how someone responds to vulnerability, whether they offer judgment or empathy, distraction or presence. A relationship that thrives on depth doesn't avoid difficult conversations. It leans into them with compassion. Whether it's about fears, insecurities, or past wounds, a good partner doesn't rush to fix it or gloss over it. They hold space. They allow their introverted partner to express what's inside without feeling like they're being too much or too serious. In contrast, when an introvert is paired with someone who avoids deep discussions or constantly shifts the conversation to lighter topics, they can feel emotionally starved. It's not that they need to talk all the time, but when they do, they want it to matter. When that need goes unmet, they often retreat, not because they're angry or passive-aggressive, but because they feel unheard, unseen, and disconnected. This is why choosing a partner who thrives on emotional connection is essential. It's not just about compatibility on the surface, it's about emotional rhythm. When two people can sit together and talk about life, love, fears, goals, or even abstract ideas, something beautiful happens. Trust deepens, intimacy grows, silence no longer feels awkward. It becomes a comfortable pause between moments of genuine exchange. For introverts, love isn't loud. It's not in the constant texting or endless banter. It's in the calm moments, the thoughtful words, and the shared understanding that goes beyond language. A partner who engages in deep conversations provides more than communication. They offer connection. And in the end, that's what introverts truly crave. Not a partner who fills the silence with noise, but one who fills it with meaning. When it comes to relationships, energy matters just as much as compatibility. For introverts, who naturally have a more inward, focused way of processing the world, being around high energy people all the time can feel overwhelming. That's why finding a partner with balanced energy, not someone who constantly drains or overstimulates them, is essential. It's not about finding someone exactly like them, but rather someone whose energy complements theirs, creating a peaceful and harmonious dynamic. Introverts tend to be more reflective, deliberate, and emotionally sensitive. They're not usually the life of the party, nor do they seek constant stimulation. Instead, they prefer meaningful connections and intentional moments. When paired with someone who constantly needs attention, excitement, or social engagement, the relationship can start to feel exhausting. Not because the introvert doesn't care, but because they are forced to operate outside of their natural rhythm for too long. That kind of imbalance isn't just tiring, it eventually creates resentment, tension, and emotional disconnection. The right partner, whether they're an introvert or a calm extrovert, brings balance rather than pressure. They understand that not every moment needs to be filled with talking, activities, or interaction. They know how to enjoy the quiet. They understand that downtime isn't laziness. It's how introverts restore themselves, and they don't mistake a slower pace for disinterest. Instead, they appreciate the quiet comfort that comes from simply being in each other's presence without the need to constantly perform or entertain. This energetic compatibility also shows up in daily life. A balanced partner respects the introvert's slower processing style. They don't interrupt constantly, talk over them, or demand quick responses. They give space for thought. They listen fully. They allow moments of pause in conversation instead of rushing to fill silence. These small, seemingly insignificant habits make a huge difference in helping an introvert feel understood and respected. Additionally, energy balance helps in conflict resolution. When disagreements arise, a high-strung or emotionally explosive partner might push for confrontation, demand instant answers, or escalate tension. For introverts, this creates stress and withdrawal. But a balanced partner knows when to step back, when to give space, and when to come together again for a calm, grounded discussion. This creates a healthier and more emotionally intelligent way of dealing with conflict, one that doesn't leave the introvert feeling emotionally bulldozed. Another important aspect of energy balance is the mutual understanding of social needs. Introverts don't typically enjoy being around large groups for extended periods. A partner who constantly wants to go out, entertain guests, or make every weekend a social event can unintentionally wear them down, but a partner who understands and respects their social limits will not pressure them into uncomfortable situations. Instead, they'll find a rhythm that works for both, maybe alternating between social nights and quiet evenings in, or attending fewer but more meaningful gatherings. Ultimately, energetic harmony isn't about sameness, it's about support. It's about having a partner who recognizes that love doesn't have to be loud, fast, or intense to be real. It can be quiet, steady, and deeply rooted in mutual respect for each other's needs. When an introvert finds someone who meets them at that balanced frequency, the relationship becomes a safe and comforting space where both people can thrive without compromise. Because for introverts, being in love shouldn't feel like running a race to keep up. It should feel like coming home. A place where their energy is protected, their nature is valued, and their pace is matched with patience. A partner who honors that is not only compatible, they are a true emotional match.